right here, say sit down, right here, don't go, no way, yeah, I like that, bring that, right here, say sit down, right there, don't go, nowhere, little baby gon' shake that, 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 say yeah, I like that, bring that, right here, say sit down, right there, don't.
What up, YouTube? Welcome back. We back with another reaction video reacting to Pablito's Way. I hope that's how you say that. When flexing goes completely wrong. Let's get right into it.
What exactly can happen when people try to show and tell just a little too much? Well, let's get right to it and start with number 5, running for the status. Before she was arrested for credit card fraud, Ariel Foster was a track star at LaSalle University in Boston. She had a bright future there as a student athlete until the arrest. Foster ran for the track team while studying at LaSalle on a scholarship. At the time, she was a freshman with very little money. So, to help pay for some of her living expenses, Foster got a job at Burlington Mall in their jewelry store called La Visa.
Burlington got a mall?
One day, during an interview with a local newspaper reporting on her athletic performance, Foster bragged to the reporter that she was buying herself a $35,000 Tesla sedan. After buying the car, Foster posted a photo of the red car on social media. She posted the photo in February, along with several other posts of fancy things she bought. These items included a $5,000 Louis Vuitton purse, $6,000 worth of Delta airline tickets, which brought her to Maui, Hawaii, where she spent an additional $20,000 for the hotel there. The part that busted Foster the most was the caption of her Tesla post. She wrote that the Tesla was her biggest flex because she paid for it with cash money instead of taking out a car loan.
Girl, what?
Police started looking into Foster's bank statements after the jewelry store La Visa reported a massive theft at their store of over $500,000. Her bank statements revealed the exact amount that La Visa had lost and showed up on her account around the time of the theft.
She's stupid.
The investigators arrested Foster in her dorm room, even though the track star insisted she was innocent. The investigators brought her in and showed her the evidence they had, leading to Foster confessing to the theft. Foster admitted to stealing the money and revealed to detectives how she managed to embezzle so much money. In a nutshell, Foster would increase the price of an already expensive item, sell the item to a customer, then siphon the extra money off to herself. How did she do it? Foster figured out how to transfer the difference over to a credit card she owned. Foster began this process on February 2nd and stopped on February 22nd, the day La Visa called the police to report a card scanning machine breach. Foster claimed that she had stolen the money to help relieve stress that stemmed from the need to provide for her and her family. However, the lack of stress detected in her later interviews and the fact that a good chunk of the money was spent on material things for herself.
Yeah, she's slow. Like, and then you're gonna post all of that on the Instagram. So here's your evidence right here. Exhibit A, B, C, and Z. Like,
she had lots of doubt on her claims. Foster is facing grand larceny charges, which could very well result in jail time. Number 4, PPP luxuries. Supposed small business owner Leon Miles spent his first couple months of the pandemic buying a Bentley and an Escalade. The grand total for both cars amounted to $350,000, $250K for the Bentley, and $100K for the Cadillac Escalade. There were the latest models. Not long after purchasing the luxurious cars, Miles posted photos of them on his social media pages, mainly Instagram. The post looked oddly suspicious to investigators, who knew that, based on government records, Miles had recently received a substantial amount of funds from the PPP, $1.9 million to be exact. We don't need to tell you that the Payment Protection Program is meant to help businesses maintain their payrolls while not getting any operating income. and not for buying luxury cars. Also, similar to the unemployment assistance programs, the PPP only required some taxes documentation that can easily be forged by literally anyone with a computer and basic knowledge of how to fill out a form. Miles was one such individual. Miles lived and worked in Brooklyn, New York, where he owned his very own company called 114 Macon. When the government announced the Paycheck Protection Program in 2020, Miles decided to use his business to get relief for his payroll. He claimed that 114 Macon had 50 employees and an average monthly payroll of $768,838. The program accepted his tax returns and other tax documents and awarded him $1.9 million, enough to hold 114 Macon's payroll over for at least 2 months. Miles received the funds in his savings account a short time later after submitting his files. As you already know, Miles spent a good-sized chunk of his funds on luxury cars. One might assume that he gave the rest to his 50 employees. He didn't, because Miles didn't have 50 employees. He didn't even have 40 or even 10 employees. Miles had 0 people working for him. After investigators saw the Instagram posts, they decided to take a closer look at Miles' tax records. They found that in reality, Miles' company, 114 Macon, hadn't filed any tax returns for the previous year, 2019. And the business address he listed wasn't a commercial address, but his home. Investigators quickly charged Miles with committing fraud for forging his tax documents to use taxpayer dollars for his own selfish material.
Well, duh, y'all was just giving out fun. You know how many people didn't got caught up in a PPP? Being stupid. Then here's my thing. Okay, you get the PPP loan, right? You just hit for basically $2 million. But get the hell out of the United States and go to a place where they cannot be like, yeah, bro, we want him. Give him to us. It's very simple. What? You're dumb. You leave America, go to a country that does not mess with America, and you're fine.
Material gain. In July of 2022, Miles pleaded guilty to making false statements on a document. Despite pleading guilty, Miles still received 72 months behind bars from the judge, partially because his max sentence was 30 years and because the federal and state governments are trying to make an example of criminals like Miles. The government has provided over $500 billion in relief money through the PPP, but unfortunately, some of those funds were obtained through forgeries, costing the government billions. Fortunately, in Miles' case, the government was able to recover some of the money he stole after freezing the loan. Number 3. Desto. Young female rapper Lotta Cash Desto was known for her Instagram posts showing her posing with expensive jewelry and stacks of cash. Her posts feature selfies with diamond chains and real cash in hand, not an uncommon thing for a successful rapper to do. And Desto was quite successful. She had 2 big singles, Lunchroom and Vegas, both collaborations with her mentor and chart-topping rapper Lil Uzi Vert. While the Memphis rapper earned her money legally, unlike the other people on this list, she unfortunately wasn't able to escape the consequences of posting her material wealth on social media. Desto was in Houston with her young friend, cruising around in her Porsche SUV, when she stopped at a red light at around 2:30 a.m. While at the light, a black sedan pulled up next to her. Then, 2 men jumped out and opened fire on Desto and her friend. One of the men who attacked Desto, Christian Isaiah Williams, was found in a nearby parking lot. He was suffering from a wound to the midsection given to him by Desto. Officers who found Williams also found some of Desto's possessions, confirming that it was for a robbery. When the officers and paramedics arrived on the scene, they found Desto. She had already passed by the time they got there. Desto's friend was found with a single wound, but still alive. She was immediately transported to a hospital where she received treatment for her injuries. Police and other security experts have long warned hip-hop artists, along with anyone who collects expensive
single wound. Back door? Nah. I wouldn't even put that in the air.
Jewelry to avoid posting it on social media, especially if you're famous, like Desto was. Number 2. Pooling money. Parents at a primary school in Surrey, England, had been wondering why their kids still didn't have enough supplies, despite funneling hundreds of thousands of pounds into an after-school fund. After all the years spent wondering, the parents had their answers. The school bursar, Debbie Poole, had been siphoning off hundreds of thousands of pounds from the school's accounts. From 2011 to 2018, the school had struggled to provide their students with
Damn, she
even
was doing it for
basic
7
supplies.
years.
One parent recalls her child coming home with a bunch of paper cutouts and a poster, all separated because they didn't have the glue to stick them to the poster. To help supply the school, parents and administrators put on several different fundraisers: cake sales, dinners, balls, and quiz nights. Meanwhile, Poole was pulling up to work in fancy cars like her Ford Cougar, while the head teacher drove around in an old Ford Fiesta. Poole had been working for the school for 18 years and hadn't had many problems in that period. In fact, she'd been given promotions throughout her entire career there. The school, known as Hinchley Wood Primary School, initially hired Poole as a senior administration officer. Then they promoted Poole to school business manager in 2011, which gave Poole direct access to the school's finances. The school had around 600 students at the time, meaning that their fundraisers were capable of bringing in substantial amounts of money. As the business manager, Poole would take in cash donated from parents directly. She also allocated funds through the school's bank account. Much of the account was made up of money from Woody's, the school's after-school program that Poole ran as a manager.
Damn.
Poole had the power to do whatever
had her
she
hands on
wished
everything.
with the cash and could send the money in the account virtually anywhere. She also had the power to write checks from the school. In other words, Poole had full control
She getting
over
kissed by
every
dolphins and
cent the primary school owned,
Messing packs.
particularly the fundraiser money. Mrs. Poole really enjoyed traveling. Many teachers are fortunate enough to have a couple of months off during the summer, and Poole made sure to make the most of her long vacation time. She and her husband Gary went on several lavish trips together. They spent their money at a 5-star getaway in a deluxe-sized bungalow with its very own private pool at a Greek holiday resort. They later returned to Greece to drop 13,000 pounds on a 10-day stay at the exclusive Icos Olivia Resort in Thessaloniki. That
Damn,
same
they was
year, in
getting money.
2018, Gary and Debbie Poole went on a more local trip to the Cotswold, where they spent another 7,000 pounds to stay at a luxury cottage for 15 people. They also went on Christmas vacations, spending their New Year's in places such as Amsterdam and Venice. Poole was caught thanks to a whistleblower. The whistleblower said they decided to come forward to expose corrupt and bullying.
Okay. Sure. So, who was the whistleblower? Y'all not gonna tell me, right? The whistleblower was gave money to. Let's keep it as that. And then y'all letting us steal all this money. What are y'all? So you telling me no one was ever checking over the funds at all? Y'all just allow her to do whatever she wanted for 7 years. Like, I get she's the manager, but like, the teacher should have been like, damn, we ain't got no school supplies still. Like, where's the money going? Like, what are we doing? Yeah.
Culture at the school. But most of all, they wanted to bring Poole to justice. When investigators eventually sifted through Poole and other administrators' offices, they found piles of checkbooks and bank statements.
Exactly.
48 of these statements were still in their envelopes, meaning that no one had seen what Poole had been doing, at least on paper, for 48 months. Since 2011, Poole had been transferring money to her accounts and writing herself checks periodically. In total, the investigation found that Poole had stolen over 500,000 pounds from the school, and while she spent a good chunk of it on nice cars, the rest was poured into her proverbial travel suitcase. For her crimes, Poole is expected to receive a sentence from British courts in the coming months. Before we get to the last story, if you're enjoying these stories, definitely stay on this video to watch our previous release for more stories about how showing off can go completely wrong. Number 1. Unemployment money. 100 key bank debit cards. That's how many cards a team of young male scam artists used to defraud the government out of over $2 million during the pandemic. The scam started in June of 2020 and continued over into May of 2021. They stemmed from the government's efforts to help businesses and individuals during the economic shutdown caused by the mandated mass quarantine. The shelter-in-place orders were enforced all around the world, leading to many businesses having their revenue streams completely cut off. Anticipating a payroll freeze, the government started a program that would provide money for companies to fund their payroll and in turn pay their employees. Still, many companies had to lay off employees, which led to a temporary high unemployment rate. To combat the issue, the government created assistance programs to help people get by during periods of unemployment. The assistance was necessary because many companies during this period in 2020 and 2021 had stopped hiring new employees. Of course, that didn't stop millions of financial criminals from exploiting the program, including the scam artists mentioned earlier. In this case, the young men were able to obtain the unemployment benefits much more easily than before. The government wanted to hand out as much assistance as possible to as many unemployed people as possible, so the benefit requirements were much lower. The 8 suspects included 18-year-old Brian Adams, 19-year-old Gianni Stewart, 20-year-old Carlos Vasquez, 25-year-old Andre Ruddock, 18-year-old Angel Cabrera, and 18-year-old Seth Golding. Yes, most of the suspects in this crime were barely even legal adults, but their young age didn't stop them from pulling off a relatively complex financial crime. The 8 began their scheme by stealing personal information from various unemployed individuals and used this information to create the aforementioned 100 debit cards. The debit cards were then used to withdraw money from various ATM machines in and around where they lived in New York, including the Flatlands and a couple spots in Eastern Queens. The suspects might have gotten away with the scam like so many others have, but they decided their newfound wealth was just too good to not post on their social media pages. They posted photos of themselves holding fat stacks of cash inside expensive sports cars, then stacking more cash on top of the expensive sports cars, all of which were way beyond the wages they earned from their jobs. Suddenly, the 8 young men had $2 million worth of luxury items in cash. Authorities, who were searching for those responsible for the identity theft, found the social media post published online by the 8 young men. After some more digging into the 8 young men, investigators eventually found more evidence that suggested they had fraudulently obtained their money through a mass debit card scheme, including surveillance footage of one of the suspects, Armani Miller, withdrawing money from a Capital One ATM machine. They soon compiled other pieces of evidence, enough to arrest the 8 scam artists and charge them with several fraud-related charges.
So this is the end right here. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Again, this was When Flexing Goes Completely Wrong. I guess technically part 1, but it's not really a part 1 because that was the end of that first video. This is a completely different part of the video talking about the dumbest criminals. So I'll get into that in the next video. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all then. Stay safe.
I'm a god mode, can't stop me, ain't to live is to conquer. All this pain got me feeling accomplished. See these games turn me into a monster. Hey, I'm in god mode, can't stop me, to live is to conquer. All this pain got me feeling accomplished. See these games turn me into a monster. I'm in god mode, can't stop, can't stop. Hey, all that pain got me feeling jaded. Many with you roll when to make it. Still plugged into the mix, but lagging out before the update. Drop back in different times, same location.